Welcome to the Kiwimana Buzz.
Hey everyone, this is Gary here from the Kiwimana Buzz, a beekeeping podcast where we talk about bees, gardening and life. And we also interview beekeepers from around the world and other people interested in bees. And this week we have an interview with Kim Pezza, who lives in Florida, who's an author who's just recently written a book about beekeeping. And thanks to everyone last month that used our Amazon link. That's http kiwimana.co.nz/Amazon. And that helped towards us buying Kim's book so we could read it before the interview. So thanks everyone that helped support us in that way. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's get started with the interview with Kim. Hi everyone, this is Gary here from the Kiwimana Buzz, and today we've got Kim Pezza. So how are you, Kim?
Hi.
Yeah, good. And Kim's the author of the Backyard Farming series, and their books about homesteading, including a good one about getting started with beekeeping. And she currently lives between Florida and New York State, but she grew up in the Finger Lakes area of New York, among the orchards and farms. It must have been a great way to grow up, Kim.
Yeah, it was. When I was growing up around where I lived, I was born in New York City, and we came up here when I was about 3 years old. And I lived at the same town that my grandparents lived in, except opposite ends. And on my end of town, we had Holstein dairies and mucklands and orchards. And my grandparents' side of town, orchards, and their next door neighbor had a huge herd of jerseys, which when I was a kid I used to go up a lot and, spend time up there. And my one of my best friends now still has a herd of Angus. So yeah, I've been around the farms most of my life.
Oh, okay. Were those Jersey cows for dairy farms?
Dairy.
Yeah,
dairy, and she also used to show them, I believe.
Oh, okay, fantastic. And so, yeah, go on.
I'm sorry. And now the Jersey is one of the cows that you don't see, very often anymore. So, growing up around a herd of them was kind of it's really a neat memory that I have. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, better to grow up there than in the middle of New York, I would say, wouldn't it?
Actually, I preferred growing up here. If I, had to have been down in the city, actually, there are a couple cities where if I had to live in a city, I could. There's only like a couple of them that I could live in comfortably, but I prefer, rural areas.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So you've written a lot of books about homesteading and doing sort of like gardening and stuff like that. Do you have a large garden?
Right now I have a small garden. After I got hurt a few years ago, I actually had to get out of everything for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I kept up kind of doing some things in pots and, going over to my friend's house with her animals and like that until I could slowly, which has just been basically this past year, slowly get back into being able to do the things. And I have a small garden right now. I tend to, depending on how the early spring is in the area, if I can get back to my garden, my bigger garden, because one of the problems that I have is with my foot. So if I can get back to my bigger garden, if there's no snow and like that, where I can prep it, then I'll prep the big garden. If not, then I end up mixing my vegetables in around the house with the flower garden that was actually the flower garden that my grandmother had put in. And I just mix my vegetables in with those, depending on how the beginning of the season is.
Oh, fantastic. So you're actually living at the old homestead now, aren't you? Your grandparents' house.
Yeah, that's where I'm living.
Oh, fantastic. And so do you sort of do half your time there and half your time in the Florida area?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of doing right now. But I don't go like winters in one place and summers in the other.
Oh,
I just kind of bounce, you know, as, now I'll go down like in December, January, and then I'll come back for a little while, and then I might go back down again for a short time, and then come back. But I don't just go for a whole block of time.
Yeah.
In one spot. I just kind of bounce. But my goal is to end up, instead of being, 50-50 actually I'm a little bit more in Florida than I am here. But, instead of being kind of 50-50, my goal is to be more down there than up here, only because of the fact that I can get around better and, the extended growing season that's down there.
Yeah, they have a lot nicer summers, don't they?
Yeah. Now, down there, a lot of times, June, July, August, it's kind of hot for the gardens. But you're only talking about maybe 3 months where I wouldn't have a lot of things going, where up here, it's kind of like from October to the middle of May. Yeah. That I can't have a garden going outside.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big difference, of being able to work.
So what's it like keeping bees in Florida? Is it very hot, or do you keep them mainly in the New York area?
The bees that I have right now, in fact, writing the book, I wrote the book while I was learning about my bees.
Yeah.
The bees that I have right now, live in the side of my house.
Oh, okay. And
I do have to hive them probably this coming year, because I'm going to have the new roof put on, and I'm sure the roofers aren't going to want to work around a big hive of honeybees. But they were actually there when my grandmother was still alive, so they've been in there for quite some time. And I've been really hesitant to move them because they really haven't been doing any harm, and the hive has been really thriving. And, I've been talking to some people around that have been having problems with their bees. And every time I think, well, I'm going to have somebody come and get them out and hive them up for me, then I hear somebody having a problem with their bees, and I'm like, well, maybe they can stay there a little bit longer. Because I just don't want to risk that they're so healthy, or that at least they look so healthy.
Yeah.
That I really don't want to move them, but this coming year I'm going to have to.
Yeah, well, they sound like they may be more tolerant to varroa mites and things like that if they survive that long.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, a few years ago, some of them swarmed.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated. I just stood there. First, I went outside and looked at them in the tree. And then I came in and just sat in the window with binoculars and just watched them for probably about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, to be among them?
Oh, it was. It was. And, I found out later, somebody told me later on, they said, well, if you had an empty hive, if you put it down, they might have gone in there. And I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
But, I didn't at the time.
Yeah.
But, I was afraid maybe they had all left, but they didn't. Just part of them.
Just half of them, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
So what got you into writing in the first place?
I was on some different forums, homesteading forums and like that, communicating. And the publisher had contacted me, something they had seen. I don't remember what it was, but it was something they had seen. And it was right after I had had my accident. And so we were talking back and forth for a couple of years. I was looking for kind of having to reinvent myself a little bit because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do everything that I did. Like, I used to raise pigs, and I loved my pigs.
Yeah.
But that was something that I wasn't going to be able to do because I wouldn't be able to go after them if they got out anymore. So there's different things I knew that I had done that I wouldn't but other things that I knew I would eventually be able to work back into slowly. And so in between, this opportunity came up, and we talked for probably about a year and a half or so, because they were trying to decide how they wanted to use me. And about a year ago, they came to me about the series. And I was really interested, and I've been doing them ever since.
Oh, okay. Is it Heatherly Press? Is it the company?
Heatherly Press, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got quite a lot. Eh? Which ones are currently out? I know you've got the chicken one, and is the goat one out yet?
The goat one should be coming out this November.
Oh, okay.
That one's scheduled to come out. The first one that came out was herbs and vegetables, then the chickens. The next one was preserving some of the basics on preserving.
Yeah.
Then the honeybees. Goats is coming out next. It should be in November. And actually right now I'm working on cattle.
Oh, wow. I look forward to the goat one because we've got a goat here. So we're good to read about what we're doing wrong.
Yes, I had goats too, and that is one thing that I am going to be able to get back into.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you'd be happy to hear I actually finished the beekeeping book today. So it's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I finished reading your one. So it's a fantastic book, and it's I think it's a great introduction to beginners. So it's really well done. I think it's fantastic.
Kind of introductions, for beginners, something that gives information without overwhelming. And if somebody wants more in-depth information, then I tell them where to go for the more in-depth, information. But basically they're meant to say, like, if somebody's interested in keeping bees,
yeah,
if they're not sure if it's for them or not, I hope by reading the books, they can read them and say, okay, I want to look into this a little bit more, or no, just by reading the books, I can tell right now I'd be over my head, and I wouldn't be able to handle doing bees or doing chickens, maybe later on, but I can't do it right now. And, just a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. And it's got some, the fun facts section's really good, and you've got some really good information there, and it's all very well researched, so very good.
Yeah, that one was probably the most fascinating one to do.
Yeah.
Once I got into some of the real history, some of the real history, I mean, it made me even look at my bees differently.
Yeah.
More than just a hive. It made me start looking at them as a community. Yeah,
they're kind of like a super organism, aren't they? That's how you got to sort of look bees at, like, they're not individuals, they're a whole group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm to where with my bees at this point, while, getting honey from them and like that would be really nice, I want to hive them just to keep them on the farm.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after doing the book, I just want to keep them on the farm. I'd like to get honey, but I really don't care about that. I just want to keep them on the farm.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you hive them, you're going to put them in a Langstroth or in a top bar hive, or what have you decided? I
really haven't decided yet. At this point, I would, because I do have woods and like that on my property. I'm probably going to look at what is going to be the safest for the bees.
Yeah. Is that because of bears?
Bears are moving down. Now, I don't think there have been any bears in my neighborhood, per se, but there have been bears, like, the next town over. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there have been bears around. I just haven't seen them. I'm not saying there are, but, it wouldn't surprise me if every once in a while there's there's one around, because they have been seen in towns around me. So, I guess what I'm going to be looking for is something that other beekeepers might recommend, something that would be easy for me to get into, but also something that I can keep safe from predators. You can't keep them 100% safe, but as best as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can probably, if you don't like doing the lifting and stuff, it's probably a good idea to get like a bench hive or a top bar hive. That's a really real bonus of them. And the other thing is to have an electric fence around them to stop the bees.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is up in this area, in the Finger Lakes area, especially where I am, because I'm about 6 miles from Lake Ontario, and we can get some pretty nasty winters. Yep. So when I decide on a hive, I have to keep that in mind too, with the cold and the snow that we get. Living right off of one of the Great Lakes, we get, I get lake effect snow, which can be anything from less than an inch during a snow to a few feet, during a storm.
Yeah. So,
I have to kind of keep that into consideration too, something that's going to stand up to, some heavy snow that we could get.
Yeah, definitely have it on some sort of stand, like quite high up. And I think a lot of people in America and Canada, they have upper entrances as well, in case the snow gets that high. So, but yeah, I know it's fascinating. Different problems that we don't really have here, because we don't really have bears, or we don't have bears. So
yeah, now like down south, if I were to have bees down south, then I'd have different things to look at, because you don't get the snow, but you do get the heat, and you can get the rains, and things like that. So that's a whole other thing that I'd have to look at. But right now I'm just focusing on the one hive that I have up here that hopefully I'll, be able to save when they have to be removed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so down in Florida, do they have Africanized bees?
Africanized? I really don't know what they have down there. I've been kind of focusing so much on what I have to do with the ones up here that I haven't really had a chance to look into that yet for down there. So I don't know if the African bees has come down through there, or not.
I'm not sure either. Well, if anyone out there does know, leave a comment on the page, guys, because I'm not sure either. So
now I know that we have up here bees that they're not honeybees, but they're other, like the ground bees, and they are getting very aggressive. I mean, okay. I've had ground bees chase me into my house.
So the ground bees, are they like a native one, are they?
The ground bees, they build their hive in a hole in the ground.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of like to describe them as somewhat of a comparison, not a perfect comparison, but something like a yellow jacket type bee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they live in the ground.
Oh,
and
okay.
They can be very aggressive. Like I said, I've had a couple that chased me into my house and followed me through the door.
Oh God.
And I had another that it came after me. I ran in, shut the door. I waited about 10 minutes. I figured, it's safe. He's gone. I went out the door. He was out there waiting for me. and went after me again.
God, they sound like Africanized bees, don't they?
Well, yeah, but I mean, they've been around here since I was a kid, but I don't remember them. I don't remember them being as aggressive as I've seen them the last probably, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
To where they literally chase you. I mean, I've been stung really badly, by running over a nest of ground bees with a lawnmower. I got about 12 or 14 bee stings out of that one. But, I mean, they chased me at that time, but, I can understand why. I ran over them with a lawnmower,
Yeah, that's
these just chase to chase.
Do they affect your bees at all, those ground bees? Do they try and rob the hives and stuff?
I haven't noticed them commingling at all with the honeybees.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's probably a good thing then.
Yeah. Now, I know one year I did have, which concerned me, and I don't remember what they were called, but I had these things that looked like they were huge. I mean, they looked like bees on steroids. And about, 2.5, 3 times the size of my honeybees, if not, more. And I did look them up, and this was probably about 4 years ago, and to be honest, I don't remember what they were called, but they could have posed a problem for the honeybees. So every time I saw them, I killed them, I went after them. They used to, like, at night, once in a while, they'd hang around the outdoor light at night, so I'd go outside, turn the light on, I'd go outside, and every time one came to the light, I'd, take care of it.
Yeah.
Because they are an invasive, I believe. And, but the following year, they were gone, and my honeybees were still here. So I don't know if they tried to go after the honeybees and failed, and the honeybees, got the best of them, because I did remember reading that the honeybees would fight them. Usually wouldn't win, but would fight them off. And, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 years later, and those bees have been gone for 4 years, and my honeybees are still there, so something happened.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That's really good. So what? How did you get started in beekeeping? Was that with through your grandparents?
Actually, I started getting interested in the bees because of, always had a little bit of an interest. I mean, with the bee balm, I put bee balm and things that would attract bees, and I got a little bit more interested with the colony collapse, problem going on. But then I got really interested when I moved over to the farm and had, like, the built-in hive.
Yeah.
That's what really got me interested.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So, of course, I haven't gotten any honey from them because they are in the wall. But I've talked to friends that, do keep bees. And, she said as long as they were there and keeping it cool in there, that, they should be all right. But, the minute that I do have somebody come and take them out and hive them for me, then I'm going to have to be ready to rip the wall out.
Yeah, you will. You'll have to do like what they call it a cutout, won't you? And they take the wall out and remove all the comb.
Yeah, well, I went to a seminar last year, and it was just a small seminar, just about an hour.
Yeah.
And I talked to the person there that was giving the seminar, and she did tell me that there may not be as much honey in there as I think. There may just be enough in there to, keep the hive alive.
Yeah, just for their own needs, I suppose, eh?
Yeah, for their own needs. So she says you may not have the problems that you think.
Yeah.
But I'm preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is trying to find the queen.
My luck, I'm going to have to rip the wall out.
Yeah, I would say you probably will, because I've spoken to a few people that do removals, and that's generally what happens.
Yeah.
Because the biggest,
fortunately, it's the small wall.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, because I think the big thing is you've got to find the queen, because she won't come out by herself.
Right, and that's the other reason. I want to have somebody come that really knows what they're doing to remove.
Yeah.
Because I want somebody that can either get the queen or have a queen ready, in case they can't get the queen that's in the hive.
Yeah.
Have a substitute queen, and then hopefully they will gravitate to her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and, I don't know how to remove the bees. So, that's why I want to have somebody come and do it.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. Yeah, because we're actually interviewing a guy in a couple of weeks who's from Los Angeles, and he does that as a job. A guy called Tyson, but it's a shame he doesn't live up your way. Come and help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he'll drive that far somehow.
No, this probably wouldn't be. Well, there might be a good time of year because they're probably a little bit more docile right now because the temperatures are colder. But
yeah, you probably want to do it in your spring, I'd say, because at least
probably.
Yeah, but I guess if you've got that work to do, you've got to get that work done.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to talk to somebody too and see what the best time of year will be. To move them.
Yeah. I would say in the spring when they're starting to get a honey flow on, and they've got enough stores and stuff to get build up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have heard of people taking things like out of trees and stuff in winter, and they've just died because they're just too much of a shock for them, really.
Yeah. That's what I'm afraid of. I don't want to shock them. I mean, because they've lasted for so long. I mean, I've been at the farm for 5 years.
Yeah.
And they were there. My grandmother passed away in 1999, and they were there then. So, I mean, it's an old hive.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so nervous about moving them. Because of the fact that after all this time and they're so strong, I don't want to lose them. But
no.
I'm going to have to, unfortunately, probably this year move them.
Well, one good thing is you'll be able to breed from them again. So that genetics won't be lost, and they're probably really strong bees. So you can make a whole apiary of them. It should be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, they've been there. I mean, like I said, they were there from 1999. They were there even before that. So, I mean, we're talking quite some time.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And they've never bothered us. Only had one run-in with one of the bees, and I was out mowing, and one of the bees flew in front of me, and we collided that way. Otherwise, I've never had a problem.
Yeah.
With any of the bees. They might come down and see what you're doing, check you out. But other than that, I've never been stung by them. I've never had them chase me. They've been, really pretty docile.
Well, they sound like fantastic bees, so good luck with them. I think they sound great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So what is the biggest issue facing bees in your area at the moment up in New York State?
From what I've been hearing, they've been having problems with colony collapse, and I've heard a little bit from some friends, but funniest thing is I heard the most about it this past Christmas when I was down in Savannah, Georgia. And I was in a a honey store down on River Street, and I got talking to somebody there, and somebody that was behind me said, well, they were from, a little more of the mountain region of New York. And they were saying that friends of theirs that had bees had lost quite a few over the last year. And so that's basically how I started hearing about, more of a problem up here than what I even thought was when I was down in Savannah talking to people down there. That seems to be, like everywhere else, that seems to be the biggest problem. Just, well, you could also have, if you have a really brutal winter, sometimes maybe a hive wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in the state. But it from what I've been picking up, it sounds to me like it's a lot of the colony collapse, most likely problem, where all of a sudden they just go to the hives and the bees are dead, gone, whatever.
Yeah, and no one knows what's causing it, do they? Unfortunately, there's a lot of theories.
A lot of theories. Yeah. It sounds to me like they're kind of zooming in more on it may be an assortment of things rather than just one thing.
Yeah, like a cocktail of things or something.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it is, it's disorientating the bees, isn't it? And they can't. I think it's screwing up with their navigation skills, so they can't find their way home.
That there's been things, I guess, of course, some of the pesticides that are being used. I mean, there's some that have just been brought out, and the last few years, and they're not honeybee safe.
Yeah.
The GMOs are a problem. They're figuring that that's a problem. The mites are another problem.
Yeah.
So, I would probably go along with the idea that it's more than one thing that's causing the problem.
Yeah.
Probably more of one certain thing than another, but it's probably a combination.
Yeah, I think you're right, and absolutely. I mean, because we don't have GMO crops in New Zealand, and we don't have CCD yet either, so that's a good thing. But I think it's probably we don't have the monocultures you guys do either. So.
Yeah, GMOs it's a big fight here, and I mean, you can't even get the politicians here to just say, okay, it's the things that are put out that are GMO have to be labeled. They don't even want to do that.
No. Which is crazy, isn't it?
It was a fight even to be able to get the milk labeled that it wasn't, didn't have the hormones, the growth hormones in it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they should label it and let the consumers choose. If people are happy to eat them, then they can do it, But,
and that's again why you're seeing the resurgence here of so many people going back to, having their own homesteads or backyard farms, or keeping a hive of bees, or keeping a few chickens, going and buying straight from the farms now, again.
Well, it's
the big buy local push.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of going back to the early days, isn't it? Like the 30s, when everyone had a garden in their backyard and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think it's, and I think the sad thing is a lot of people have lost those skills, haven't they, to grow food and stuff.
Oh yeah, They have. Now, I mean, I grew up, when I was growing up, my grandmother still canned. My grandfather hunted. I don't hunt. I don't have a problem with hunting. I just don't hunt.
Yeah.
But I grew up on wild game. I fished when I was a little kid. By the time I was like 4 years old, I had a fish pole in my hand.
Yeah.
By the time I was like 5 or 6, it was like, okay, you caught them, you clean them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was started, early. And, so and my mom cooked, actually cooked. And both of my grandmothers actually cooked, so, I was, still kind of around all of that stuff where I, picked the things up. And I didn't get into it right away. It was quite a number of years later. But, when I did, I remembered enough, and then I was able to go back and ask, grandmothers about things, or, can ask my mom about something, and, or research it myself, read about it myself, to be able to get back into the swing of everything and start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important for those skills to continue, and and people like write books like you do. It's kind of keeping that information out there, isn't it? So it's great.
Well, it's really kind of sad when it got to the point where you ask kids where their food comes from, and they said the grocery store.
Yeah, it comes from a window in my car.
When I When I had the animals, I used to go into schools, especially into the city, and I'd take a piglet, I'd take some chickens. I had some chickens that I used for eggs, but they were like pets. Yeah. And they were really good to take in, to the schools. I'd take in a duck, maybe. And one day, the kids, it was at an inner city school actually, and they really got a good lesson of where their food came from because the chicken laid an egg in front of them.
Wow.
One of the kids popped up and they said, the chicken just laid an egg, and the teacher said no. And I looked behind him and I looked at the chicken and looked underneath her and I said, yeah, she did. And about half of the kids actually saw the chicken, drop the egg. Yeah. So it was, that was a kind of a good learning moment for them. And fortunately at that point, then the teacher picked up on that a little bit more. Yeah. As well. So, the kids really got to see that, the eggs really do come from the chicken.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's really great. Well, thanks a lot for coming along today, Kim. It's been really great. And so, what's the best? You. Yeah, what's the best way for listeners to get in touch with you? I know you've got a really fantastic blog. Is that the best way?
Yeah, they can get through to me through my blog. Also, I'm on Facebook. I'm on my blog as New Century Homesteader. Okay. I'm on Facebook under my name. And I also have a blog on the Grit Magazine website. It's called the New Century Homesteader's Other Blog, but I don't have any contact information on that one. They can just go to that one to see, what's going on there. But for contact, either my blog, the New Century Homesteader, or my Facebook page. Oh, that's fantastic. And everyone, folks, all these links will be in the show notes on kiwimana.co.nz/34, and I'll add your Facebook page and your blog. That's fantastic. So, and what's your plans for the rest of the day then? Well, right now it's about 1:45 in the morning. Yeah. It's early. You're keen. But I'm actually probably going to finish up this one chapter that I'm working on the cattle book. Yeah. And then do a couple more things, packing up a few more things, and then probably go to sleep for a few hours and probably be up by about 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
well, thanks for
start
staying
doing
up.
some
It's
other
good.
work.
Yeah. And be sure to put those pictures on your blog about when you do the cutout on the, you move those bees. It'd be fantastic to see how you do it.
Yeah. So that probably won't be till sometime next year.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Because it's a little too late for that right now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, people can.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, people can subscribe to your blog and they can see what's going on and see what you're up to.
Yeah, and I hope to be starting a newsletter pretty soon, and the sign up for that is on the blog too. So if anybody's interested.
Yeah, absolutely, and they can find out about your books and stuff. And when I'm keen to get the goat one, so I'll pencil me down for one.
Yeah, and I'll be, anytime I'm going to be doing any type of workshops or whatever, I'll have those listed both on blogs and on the one blog and Facebook as well.
Yeah, because you actually teach in your areas too, don't you, where you live? That's fantastic.
Yeah, not so much this time of year up here. That's another reason why I kind of want to go down south, because of the fact that I can do the workshops, year round down there, and then come up here in the summers and do workshops up here. But I'm also looking at doing some workshops online.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
Oh, that's good. And so what rough area of Florida will you be doing the workshops for our listeners? Just so they can look out for them.
Well, when I finally do get there, I'll be in Southwest Florida area.
Okay.
But,
people can.
I probably, Punta Gorda area, that area. My hope is to finally end up down in the Keys.
Yeah.
I really want to set up down like in Key West. So, anywhere probably between the Keys and, Southwest Florida, Punta Gorda area.
Yeah.
Like that, I would be doing things. But of course, you have better weather to deal with. So once I'm down there, a lot more, I'd be willing to go a little bit further than I am up here this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a little more curved up here where I go.
Yeah.
Because of the weather right now.
Yeah.
But down there, I'll be more open to doing more things. And I just got onto the got myself onto the speakers list. Mother Earth News has their homestead education programs, and there's a speakers list, and I just got onto that. So,
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I saw that in your blog the other day. So you're available for speaking engagements around the area too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
I can go, pretty much go wherever.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thanks a lot for staying up late, and thanks for coming on the show. And we'll.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we'll get this out in about probably 2 weeks, and we'll get all those links on there for you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming.
All right.
Will you stay on the line?
Thank you.
Yeah, you stay on the line, and I'll just close the call. So, thanks everyone for listening today, and we'll have all those links in the show notes and kiwimana.co.nz/34. Thank you.